Somewhere in the UK right now, a company is pulling the engine out of a 1929 Rolls-Royce Phantom II and replacing it with an electric drivetrain. This isn't a one-off curiosity, it's a genuine growing industry, currently priced at around £20,000 a conversion. The company doing it has a stated goal of getting that down to £5,000. Whether that's realistic and what it would actually take to get there is the real story. Start with who's actually doing this, because it's further along than most people realise. Companies like Electrogenic and Electric Classic Cars in the UK, Everati, Twisted and Canada's Arc Motor Company are all running real ongoing conversion businesses, not one-off garage projects. Everati alone has electrified 5 different generations of classic Porsche 911. Twisted converts the classic Land Rover Defender into a 268 horsepower EV with a 61 kW battery pack, offering 140 to 180 miles of range depending on the body style. Some major manufacturers are now even commissioning official electric conversions of their own historic models, rather than leaving the whole space to third parties. The cost genuinely varies a lot, and it's worth being precise rather than quoting a single misleading number. A basic DIY conversion kit can start around £5,000 to £6,000, but that assumes you're a trained mechanic with a proper workspace, doing the labour yourself. For most people, a full professional conversion is the realistic option, and current UK pricing for that runs somewhere between £20,000 and £40,000, depending on the car, the battery size and the level of finish. At the premium end, bespoke builds on rare or complex classics can run considerably higher still. This isn't a cheap weekend upgrade, it's closer in cost to buying a solid used EV outright. The appeal isn't saving money, it's keeping a specific car you already love on the road. So how cheap would this actually need to get before it's a genuine mass market option, not just a classic car hobby? There's a real company chasing exactly that number, and it tells you a lot about where the real flaw sits. London Electric Cars, working out of a garage under a railway arch in Vauxhall, converts vehicles using recycled parts pulled from crashed Teslas and Nissan Leafs that insurers had already written off, motors and batteries that survived the crash undamaged on cars that didn't. Right now, they charge around £20,000 per conversion, complete drive-away price. But the founder has been explicit that the actual goal is to bring that same all-in figure down to £5,000, specifically to make conversion viable for ordinary drivers rather than just classic car enthusiasts. So, genuinely, £5,000 is the number the industry itself is aiming at, all in, and it's still a target rather than something achieved yet. Current reality sits at £20,000 even for the company chasing that number. That's the honest flaw of where this sits today. Is there a genuine environmental case for this, beyond just personal taste? There's a real argument, worth stating honestly, rather than overselling. Converting an existing car means not manufacturing an entirely new vehicle, avoiding the substantial upfront emissions that come with building a new EV from scratch. The same manufacturing carbon debt we've covered on this channel before, just applied to keeping something old running rather than replacing it. It's a smaller, more personal version of a bigger idea. Sometimes the greenest vehicle is the one that already exists. So genuinely, can you electrify a classic car? Yes, and it's a real, established, if expensive industry with real companies doing genuinely impressive work. Not a novelty, and not just for the very wealthy forever, if the £5,000 target ever lands. And can you do the same thing to an ordinary super mini or family hatchback, a Corsa, a Polo, a Golf? Technically, yes, kits for exactly these cars already exist. And it's worth separating this from the classic car question, because the two aren't solving the same problem. Converting a classic is about keeping a specific, loved car on the road once its original engine becomes impractical. The value being preserved is emotional and personal, and buyers are knowingly paying a premium for it. Converting a Corsa or a Golf has to be justified on entirely different grounds. Pure financial and environmental sense. And here the maths is more promising than it first looks. Once you think about where the donor car actually comes from, nobody sensible pays full market price for a healthy used hatchback and then spends thousands converting it. The trick is starting with a car that's already been written off as undesirable, specifically because its engine or gearbox has failed, while the bodywork is still genuinely sound. That's a real, recognisable category on the used market, often available for around £2,000, precisely because most buyers won't touch a dead drivetrain. Add that to London Electric Cars' own stated £5,000 conversion target, and you're looking at roughly £7,000 all in for a car that could plausibly run for another decade or more, genuinely competitive with buying a decent used EV and considerably cheaper than any new one. The honest caveat is that this only works once that £5,000 target is actually real, and nobody, including the company chasing it, has put a firm date on when that happens. At today's genuine £20,000 conversion price, even a £2,000 donor car takes the total north of £22,000, more than simply buying a new budget EV outright, which is exactly why the sums don't yet work for anyone except classic car owners paying for sentiment rather than economics. There's also a timing question worth being honest about on the other side of the comparison. Right now, £7,000 doesn't buy a genuinely good used EV either. The market at that price point is thin and patchy. But that's shifting too, as more used EVs from the early to mid-2020s filter down through the second-hand market over the next several years. So the real race isn't, is conversion worth it, as a fixed answer. It's whether conversion costs fall to £5,000 faster than decent second-hand EVs fall to £7,000. Both are heading in the same direction. Nobody yet knows which one gets there first, but it's entirely plausible that within 5 years, either route, or both, makes this a genuinely mainstream option rather than a niche one. Worth being precise about what would actually get that £5,000 target closer, because it's not one lever, it's two, and only one of them is currently in play. London Electric Cars' path to £5,000 is built entirely on getting better at salvage, sourcing, testing and refurbishing motors and battery packs pulled from crashed Teslas and Leafs more efficiently, not on any new battery technology at all. A sodium-ion breakthrough, the kind covered earlier on this channel, cheaper, safer, better in the cold, would be a genuinely separate lever, mainly driving down the cost of new battery packs rather than salvaged ones. That mostly helps new EV prices for now. Nobody's yet building aftermarket conversion kits around sodium-ion cells. It's going into new mass production cars like the Chang'an Nevo A06, not into the second-hand conversion market. If that ever changes and cheap new sodium-ion packs start feeding into conversion kits alongside the salvage route, £5,000 could arrive faster than either path alone would suggest. Right now, though, only the salvage route is an active, stated plan. The battery chemistry route is still a plausible future add-on, not something already happening. If you found this useful, hit subscribe for more of these, and a like genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think.